Something wonderful is happening to me right now. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. I accept things the way they are. I accept things the way they are not. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. I love wasting. I love wasting. I can breathe. I reap abundantly. I already have everything I need. Wonderful is happening to me right now. Don't you feel it? Something wonderful is happening to me right now. Oh yeah, I accept things the way they are. I will. I accept things the way they are not. Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
Good morning. Welcome to the center.
Would you like a program?
Good morning.
We're in a hurry to give them away.
Do you edit this? Welcome to our center.
This is the happiest place on earth next to Disneyland, especially on Sunday in Las Vegas.
Good morning.
Morning. Welcome to the center.
I ask each of you to gently settle in your seat. I ask you to imagine a soft, loving white pillar of light coming down through the top of your head, which is your crown chakra, and gently weaving on down through your body. The love that God is, you are. Just feel that love, that pillar of light that is so gently. Feel that vibration of love going down through your body. Each of us are this light of God. Feel that light. Feel that light in your body. That light of God is loving every part of your body, every organ and vein, muscle, bones, skin. Each of us are the light of love of God. Just feel that love. And how it uplifts and upholds each of us. We are in the embrace of God, because God and each of us are one. Feel that tingle, that love, how it caresses your skin. And every part of our body. That pillar of light is exactly what each of us are. the soothing love of God, the light, embracing that love and that light. And each of us becoming even more of what we can be. Allowing that love and light of God to flow in and through and around each one of us. Everyone is this magnificent spark of God. The energy of love, and even the feeling of love, and how it embraces each of us. The love, the feeling of love, of light, the tranquility and the peace that courses through our bodies. Is our God-given right. Wherever each of us go, we are on God's ground. That is the holy ground that each of us stand on. What a wondrous sense of peace. And now I ask you, if it's comfortable with you, to come back into this present space and open your eyes and join me in saying, and so it is. Namaste.
Good morning. Please join me in invoking the Spirit of love operating through law. That's what we're celebrating here today. If you please, you may close your eyes. But I'm realizing right now that there's no more God with your eyes open or your eyes closed. But it's the focus. And so our dear Reverend Stacy will be giving us the message about moving from, I'm going to call it the no thing, let's see what she calls it, to the insight, the inner awareness, that aspect of the infinite intelligence, the third eye, the divine wisdom that is within each and every one of us, always, in every way, longing to express, longing to remind us about who we really are and what we represent. And so we're in this place of calling forth that Spirit. Please, perhaps not out loud, but inwardly say yes. Say yes. Say yes to Spirit. Say yes to insight. Say yes to truth. Say yes to accepting everything that's for your highest sense of living, your fuller sense of loving. Say yes. God's already said yes. So I'm giving thanks then for this awareness, for every demonstration, for every so-called shift in consciousness, for every acceptance of our divine purpose for our lives. And giving thanks for all that is to come and all that has come so far. I simply let go and trust God. Trust God. You can trust God. And so I let it go into the law, this word, this idea, this understanding. I just let it go into the law of mind in action, which is a law of creativity that is being revealed this day. And I know that all is healed. And so I just simply say, amen. Somebody say amen.
Amen. So again, my name is Stacy Hilton. I am one of the co-ministers along with Reverend Cheryl and Reverend Dan. And our theme for the month is spiritual living through creativity. Our topic is from nothing to insight. Abigail Rose wrote that song, I would imagine, from nothing. And then that was a demonstration. That beautiful piece, along with her beautiful voice. Now, some of you may be on the same page as I am when I speak of creativity. I have a friend sitting over there, a practitioner, that I'm not going to out, but she's over there laughing. And we took classes together. And when asked by our beloved Reverend Cynthia, who is our founder, who has passed on, to create something artistically, we kind of freaked out. We both kind of freaked out. Is anybody else like that? They just feel like they have no artistic ability at all. Anybody else? Patty, really?
I do.
Stop it. Just stop it.
I feel that way though sometimes. I do.
Stop it. But when I think of creativity, I think of drawing. I think of painting. I think of sculpting. I think of singing. I think of songwriting. I think of all of those things that I don't do. And if I do them, I don't do them very well. So, but I'm not talking about that type of creativity. But I'm talking more about, it's all creative. I'm talking about planting the seeds and allowing this middle portion. God is not only love, but God is law. Allowing the law to do what it does. As Reverend Wanda said, the law always says yes. So our job is to plant the seeds and plant the right seeds. Creativity. So in doing some research about creativity, I did my favorite thing and I went and watched some TED Talks. And the first TED Talk I watched was Elizabeth Gilbert. And Elizabeth Gilbert wrote a book called Eat, Pray, Love. Reverend Wanda mentioned this in the praying. God is good and very funny. Cheryl and I always say God is a crack up. Anyway, so Elizabeth Gilbert wrote this incredible book called Eat, Pray, Love, which turned into an incredible movie with Julia Roberts and that very handsome man, what's his name? Yeah, anyway, just handsome. So, Javier Bardem, is that his name? So, yeah, now I'm all flustered. Eat, Pray, Love was a blockbuster. And so her thought was, how are you going to follow that? As if there is not another creative idea that can top that. Not only did she have that thought, but she attracted people to her that said the same thing to her. Now she has gone on and written many other books. One of them, The Signature of All Things, which is a great book. I don't know if we have it in the bookstore, but I absolutely love that. Still not Eat, Pray, Love, but I think she's doing wonderful work. But what she said she had to do, because she was in fear about not being able to create on that same level, is that she had to realize
Should I live in fear? Or would it be a bit, or is it worse to actually not do what I believe I was put on this earth to do? That's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. And so you move through the fear. She also said that she went back and did some research and had to build a psychological construct for herself. Now, psychological construct is a big fancy word for kind of a fall guy, right? So she had to move into a thinking that she can discover some way so that it wouldn't be her fault if she failed. That's my terminology. So ancient Greece and ancient Rome, she looked back, and she said, in ancient Greece, people did not happen to believe that creativity came from human beings. People believed that creativity was this divine attendant spirit that came to human beings from some distant and unknowable source, for distant and unknowable reasons. It's a little bit what we think, except for we don't consider that source unknowable. We consider it personal to all. But we definitely think that it's from a source. Well, I think that it's from a source. I call it God, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. The Greeks famously called these divine attendant spirits demons. Socrates famously believed that he had a demon who spoke wisdom to him from afar. Isn't that fascinating? So she goes on and talks about the Romans, who had the same idea, but they called this sort of disembodied creative spirit a genius. Now their genius is different than what we call genius, because they didn't particularly think it was a clever individual. They thought it was something that lived in the walls. So almost like a fairy that lived in artist lofts or artist studios. And so that you would have to be in your studio to be genius. So, in another TED Talk that I discovered, Adam Gant, I believe this individual's name was, and he said that, and he spoke about creativity and who was the most creative. He talked about those people that are procrastinators. And he talked about precrastinators. Now we all know what a procrastinator is, right? Everybody waits till the last minute. Well, pre-creator is the opposite of that, right? And so, in studying both of those groups, neither one had the most creativity because they're both worried about the time factor. So their attention was placed on time as opposed to the creative expression. Originals live in that sweet spot, somewhere in the middle. So they're allowed to think. They give themselves they plant the seed and they nurture that seed, they water it and let it grow, and then they move forward from there. He said that procrastinators were, however, more creative than precrastinators because that procrastination time is what it's called thinking time, contemplation time. He also talked about Martin Luther King, the famous orator and civil rights man that did such great work, who was also a preacher, and wrote this little talk that you may know of called I Have a Dream, right? I Have a Dream. Well, he wrote that talk almost at the last minute, and it wasn't called I Have a Dream. And he allowed spirit to move through him, which I'm sure as a preacher, as he was, an excellent preacher and orator, he allowed spirit to have the room to move through him, and he trusted the process. Science of mind. We allow the ongoing activity of spirit into our hearts, minds, and activities to bring forth new forms and expressions to inspire and guide. That's what all the great originals do. Page 130 of the Science of Mind textbook written by Dr. Ernest Holmes. Man or woman never creates. He or she discovers and uses. We didn't create electricity. We discovered it and we use it. Through this method, all sciences are evolved. We live in a universe of law, through which runs a spirit of self-knowing intelligence. All is love, yet all is law, mused Robert Browning. The law has done all it can automatically do for man or woman. It has evolved him or her to a point of individuality and must now let him or her alone to discover the secrets of life for himself or herself. Man or woman is potentially perfect, but free will and self-choice cause him or her to appear imperfect. In reality, all he or she can destroy is some particular embodiment of him or herself. The divine spark is always intact for each of us. That divine spark is what I call creativity, what we call creativity. Some things and ideas that Science of Mind teach about creativity and to effectively use creativity. We can't be in fear, like Elizabeth Gilbert said. Would it not be worse to not do what you believe that you're put on this earth to do? So you can't live in fear. Another one is comparison. So many times, Abigail Rose, you can't compare Abigail Rose to anyone. Abigail Rose and Patty, that is apples and oranges. Patty's wonderful, Abigail Rose is wonderful, right? We tend to compare ourselves to things that are not comparable. I watch my practitioners do it all the time. Oh, your prayer's wonderful. Oh, your prayer's wonderful. They're all wonderful. Are you kidding me? It's a gift that they're giving you from their heart and their mind, and they're tapped in and tuned in, and that's what they know to do. How can they not be wonderful? It's ridiculous. Stay open. Stay open. Don't be so fixed on something that you can't allow Spirit to move through you to I have a dream. Stay open to the next great idea. Don't be too attached. Let's face it, we are human beings. We're spiritual beings, but we're also human. And we do get doubtful. And we are afraid sometimes. That's part of our construct. Don't let it stop you. I watched Mary Jo take a test yesterday, and then the other practitioners take tests. And there's been studied for 4 years. It's a big deal. I have no doubt that they passed the exam and passed with flying colors. But it's still, it's everything that you've worked so hard for, and you want it. And it's a little nerve-wracking. You get a little anxious. And it's okay. Do it anyway. Stop judging yourself. I think the only thing worse than comparing yourself is judging yourself. I'm not saying not to take a look at things that can be improved. That's fine. But the harsh condemnation from which we live our lives sometimes is really just brutal. It's abusive in a lot of cases. You wouldn't allow somebody to do that to your child or your dog even. Why would you stand in the mirror and do that to yourself? Stay in the grace and in the flow. If you stay open, which is partly being open, but staying in that flow. Knowing that if you are a nature person, then you should go out in nature and participate in that. Because you will find more things to move you into that next spot, that sweet spot. There is a creative spark within each of us. It is that spark that created us. It is the spark of Spirit. I've been surrounded by creative people my whole life. And I'm extremely creative. I told you my aunt, who has quilts in the Smithsonian, did those handmade cards that are in the bookstore, who's obviously creative. I have my father who plays the violin and plays the piano. I have my mom who's been in the fashion industry and is a visionary beyond visionaries. I mean, she's amazing. My brother draws. I have Reverend Cheryl, who's my bestest friend, who can make something out of anything. I mean, it's amazing. My best friend in high school, I actually talked to this week. I haven't talked to her in a while. She is a poet. She writes cards. And I remember in high school, a week or something, I was taking her to school, and she'd tell me these stories. And she'd stop. It was like a 15-minute ride. And she'd go on and on about the story, and then I'd drop her off, and she said, "I'll tell you the rest tomorrow." And she went on, and this went on for about 7 days. And then I said, "Oh, well, I won't be picking you up next week, so can you give me the book for that story?" She's like, "What book? I made that up." Amazing. Amazing. Again, I'm not comparing myself to any of them. And I told Reverend Cheryl, when she first met me, I was like, "I'm not creative. I have no imagination." Yeah. Well, it's not in that way. It comes out differently. Right? It comes out differently. And so when I was, I don't know, somewhere around 7, I guess somebody must have told me, or I took an art class, and kids aren't very nice sometimes at 7. And, "Oh, your painting isn't very good." They probably use another word, I don't know. But, or my mom might have said it, I don't know. You know my mom. You all know my mom. She didn't mean anything by it, but, it ruined me. That's all right. Hi, Mom. So, we all lose our spark. We all lose it sometimes. Doesn't mean we won't get it back. Meister Eckhart said that God is at home. It's we who have gone for a walk. The creative spark that is within us cannot be extinguished. It is our attitude that can cause a feeling of restriction. We can lose our connection to our own creativity because we get uncomfortable with it, fear judgment, lose our creative confidence, get caught up in rejection. We hear no so many times that we get tired of saying yes. We can also fear our own creativity because it is so limitless that we do not know how to take the next step or the first step, or fear we're losing control. Anybody ever have had that feeling? Like, I don't know what to do, I can't create.
Yes.
It's not true. Call a practitioner. So I lost my spark about 7 around these art projects. So I just decided I wouldn't do art anymore. And I'm still sticking to that. And that works for me. If it works for you, don't change it, is my advice. But if I ever do decide to go back to it, I know that the spark is always available. I've got to choose it. It's waiting for me to call upon it. This week has been a week. I'm not going to go into all of the events of the week, but yesterday was amazing. We have a wonderful minister of prayer team, a great teacher, and great ministers that support this place and love this place up, and they do so much. And they all appeared out of nowhere to support our 6 students. And it's just such a wonderful feeling. Such a wonderful feeling. I absolutely love it. And Aldo and Christina create this peace vigil. I mean, there's an outline, like we have outlines for our talks, but it's their heart and soul which goes into it, which makes the difference. And it's just wonderful. It's wonderful to be a part of and watch it go. As it was wonderful to see the students from 104, and Reverend Dan, you didn't give yourself a hand for that, but you had something to do with that. Give this dinner to our new practitioner students, our new almost practitioners. The creativity involved is amazing if you just stop and look at it. But I was challenged this week because it was going along smoothly, and then I had something happen. I won't get into that. That's for another talk, another story for another talk. But about Tuesday, as things are going along, getting ready for my talk, and I'm contemplating, I'm staying in that sweet spot because I've heard about procrastination and precrastination, and I'm right in the middle, and then something happens. And I'm like, really? So then Thursday, I recovered from this whole thing. I did nothing Thursday. And Tuesday evening, I had someone, Gina Morello, who's teaching our kids today, had asked me to do a memorial or celebration of life. Well, I was all ready, because I was all prepared, and I had everything in a row, and then this thing happens, and then next thing I know, it's Friday, and I have other stuff to do, and so how am I going to be creative and put this celebration of life or memorial together? What am I going to do? And then I also have Saturday, and I've got the students, we're taking their tests, and it's 4 years, I don't want to let them down, and blah, 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 and on, and mine just keeps going. And I remembered an agreement that God and I had quite some time ago, I guess almost 3 years now, since I became a minister. Just say yes. Just say yes. I will give you whatever you want, whatever you need to know. All you need to do is be there. And so I said yes on Tuesday, not knowing what Wednesday was and Thursday were going to look like. And so Friday, I'm like, really? Really? Is this what this looks like? And so I stopped and I took a breath. And I remembered the promise. And I moved ahead. Saturday was wonderful. And then Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, because we were done here about 12:30 or 1 o'clock, I had the memorial service. I'd never met this lady. Gina Morello was a friend, but they hadn't been in close communication. I'm like, what? What am I going to do? And I kept going back to just say yes. And so it was a wonderful service and that unfolded just perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. And I didn't have to know her. And I allowed the energy of the 20 or 30 people that were here to tell me about her. And as they told me about her, I reflected back to them who she was and who they were. It was an amazing process. Will I stay there next time? I'll probably get a little nervous next time that it happens. But I have that to recall. I have a mental equivalent to know that I can get through it. The best part about the whole day, about the whole service, not the whole day, that whole memorial service was about a lady named Ellen who had died, who had made her transition on Mother's Day. And her daughter was planning a world tour, and she was leaving this Friday. So that was the only day that we could do it, because we have Sunday services with another church here. And so all of these wonderful people were just so glad that she wasn't going to do anything. And they were so glad that Gina had suggested it, that we had said yes. It gave them closure. And it gave us a way to just, again, create a world that works for everyone and to show who we are as a center and our love. Her mom was 83, who was here, who just lost her child. And they weren't on good terms. This lady was only 50 years old. It was going to be 50 actually next week. They weren't on good terms. And as Reverend Cheryl and I said our goodbyes, she said, "Thank you for showing me who my child was, because that wasn't my experience." And Reverend Cheryl pointed out, from nothing to insight. She gave us the gift of showing us what we do best as a community. And we gave her a gift of, well, actually all of these people that came to the celebration of life gave her a gift of showing her who her child really was and how well respected and well loved she was. That's what it's about. It doesn't get much better than that, I don't think. If it does, I can't wait. I can't wait. And this thing called you. Put your mind in touch with universal spirit, with universal mind, saying just what you are waiting for. Ask for it. Believe that you are receiving it, and wait. After a few minutes, declare that you know, that you now know, even though you may not seem to know. That in the depths of consciousness, you have received the impression. And so this week, I invite you to go out and be creative, whatever that looks like for you. If it's art projects, knock yourselves out. I won't be joining you on that. But whatever else it looks like, be creative and live your best lives. Don't live in fear. Don't compare yourselves. Don't judge yourselves. Be open. Stay connected and stay in the flow. I love you all, and I can't wait to see how this turns out. And in that energy of perfect love, the perfect peace, that sweet spot, knowing that each of us are created beyond measure. This week we allow ourselves to go out there and be creative beyond measure. We allow ourselves to be the genius that we are. We don't fear any of it. There is nothing to fear. There's only love. And so as we do that, we simply do what we're called to do, and that is create a world that works for everyone. So I'm grateful for all that takes place this great week, all that's taken place in this wonderful weekend, and especially on this good, great Sunday morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And together we say, and so it is.